All right, man. So Sebastian Fundora makes Tim Tszyu quit. Some of the stuff to be said about this particular fight. Um, man. For the most part, Tim Tszyu, in my opinion, he wasn't the same. Never was gonna be the same again. It wasn't the original Sebastian Fundora fight, in my opinion. It was the Marzaliev fight. That's what did it for him. Just his look after that fight, and I've said it multiple times. The way he looked after that fight, he just didn't know where he was at. He was destroyed mentally and physically. The Marzaliev fight destroyed him. Now I don't know if he went into that Marzaliev fight thinking shit was sweet like ass cheeks. I don't know exactly what happened, but I mean, he literally got obliterated. Him after the fight, they was interviewing him. Seemed like he had some mental lapses or he wasn't mentally there. Joey Spencer fight wasn't enough. And obviously the original fight with Fundora before both fights, it was he was winning that fight easily. And then obviously the cut, and I don't really think the cut had much to do with, honestly, what happened tonight. It was the Marzaliev fight. And, tonight, he would hit Tim Tszyu, hold his ground, and where you don't want to be with Tim Tszyu is right at the end of this punch. Either you want to be on the outside, work your way in, and if you're gonna do that and constantly just reset and work your way in, you're not going to hold your position after you score. Or you want to be on the inside. But once he made on the inside, he hit him with different shots. You don't want to hold your position there. Like when he landed a good shot and he held his position versus versus Fundora, that was fine. He didn't shift out, pivot out, or roll out. It was fine until Fundora just kept throwing punches. So, for the most part, he'll land a big shot, hold his position, admire his work, and he still be right in front of Fundora in the danger zone, right in the pocket. Like I said, either you want to be really on your toes, you want to be jab your way in, you want to clip him, and then you want to turn Fundora, and then you want to shoot your shit off, turn Fundora. That's what you want to do. You don't if you can go in and out with Fundora, that's what you want to do. You want to be feinting them. You want to just be getting in, getting off with your big right hand, and then, turning them and then getting off, and you don't want to let him set. You constantly, and that takes a lot of energy to do. And then you want to also add in your feints. You want to be feinting with your foot. So basically what you're doing is keeping them off balance all night. You feint them, you land in your big right hand, you might jab, land the right hand. Now you might, you might dip out of there, turn them again. And what you're really trying to do is you're really trying to make them think twice and freeze them. So that's kind of what Usyk did to the boys. He kind of froze them, and he didn't know whether to attack or whether to stay on the defense. And when you able to freeze them, and Tim Tszyu really don't have that ability to move his head like that. He don't have that ability to, control that left hand like that. When you fight Fundora, you got to control the jab. Once you control the jab, but then you just can't sit in front of him. You can't, you can't sit in front of him. You got to control that jab, pop that jab, feint him, make it where he can't walk you down. Once you take that jab away, which he's known for, leaving his jab in the locker room, we're not using it. Then you start coming over the top with the right hand. Then you turn him. You know what I'm saying? Then you kind of drop that jab to the body, or you do what Tim Tszyu do at the end. Once you start landing them punches, you stay in his chest. But the problem with Tim Tszyu is he never got in the first fight. He's gonna knock Fundora out. He's gonna knock him out. That was inevitable, and he got cut. And for the most part, Sebastian Fundora and them looked at that first fight, and they said, excuse me, they said, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some adjustments. We're gonna keep fighting behind that jab. And Tim Tszyu and them came with the same game plan. And that's just, land the big, hold your ground, land those big shots, and then you just don't want to be sitting in the pocket with Fundora. I felt like, when he closed the gap on Fundora, he had a lot of success. The problem is he keep his head on the line. He don't move his head off the line. He don't, dip. He don't have any being. So, when he started closing the gap, Fundora just started throwing that uppercut because his head stayed over his front foot. Had he at least moved his legs and moved his head off the front line and took angles, he probably would have had a lot more success with Fundora, and he would have had a lot of shots that Fundora wouldn't have seen coming. So the things he didn't do, he don't have the foot movement, he don't have the feints, he don't have the head movement. So he wasn't going to weave out of there, go to the body, come back with the left hook. You can't do that. If you on the line and you right in front of him, you throw that right hand. You know what I'm saying? How do you can come back with the left hook, but it's harder too when he's constantly throwing punches. Had he stepped over, had he threw the right hand, bomb, and then swam over and found the left and threw he has to with them the way he so fucking tall, he has to step. He has to reset. He's too lanky to really reset how you want to. That's why you need to be weaving over, or you need to be using your footwork to turn him. And Tszyu didn't have the head movement or the footwork to turn Sebastian Fundora, and that became a problem. So when you just sitting there and he just doing, step over. Once you step over and you take an angle, that big ass dude, he gotta reset, and he clumsy. And Fundora, Tszyu never really worked he never worked on angles. He stayed right in front of him. He never stepped over, worked the angles. He never tried to really dominate with his lead jab, left jab. He never did anything they needed to do. That was the first thing, is to take Fundora jab away and make him a one-dimensional fighter. So Tszyu just didn't possess a lot of the skills that he needed to win this fight, whether it was footwork, head movement, feints, leading, controlling the lead hand, left hand, and taking away Fundora's jab. And then the Fundora looks sauced up tonight, in my opinion. I'm straight up saying it. I'm not saying he was. I'm not sure if they drug tested. To me, he looks suspicious, bro. To me, he looks super duper suspicious. I can be 100% wrong about that. I'm not saying he is. He just looked like, I don't know if they drug tested for this fight, but it seemed like he had a little extra boost in there. And I know it. What's so funny is Flame on 24 had accused Munguia of being on that shit, I blink, when he fought against Sergey Derevchenko. And what's funny is down the line, he popped hot. He popped hot for it. So in my opinion, when you look at Sebastian Fundora tonight, he looked like he was on that shit, in my opinion. And I could be totally wrong. He did a great condition, for you to be that big and cut the weight and then still have phenomenal, be strong like that and still have phenomenal conditioning. Like I said, it's my opinion, bro, and I could be 100% wrong, but it seemed like he had a competitive advantage in there. I know nobody caring box, especially if you ain't black. All the blacks ain't got nothing to say. They prefer you to use pads. None of these niggas use their platforms to speak up on Munguia, Eddie Renasso. We had multiple fights since Munguia got popped or Renasso kept getting popped. Where nobody used their platform. None of these black boxers use their platform to say anything. So I know they okay with the others juicing. But like I said, I said what I said tonight. And then this ain't even the only fight. He looks like superhuman in there. So I don't know if they testing. I know that WBC drug testing, they only test you once a year. So it's, and you already know they favor Hispanics. So you think they ain't sweeping a lot of their drug tests over there. That's why it's not a big deal. Renasso, it's not a big deal. Francisco, it's not a big deal. Munguia, it's not a big deal. Ryan Garcia, they supported him after he popped hot. It's not a big deal. And a lot of these black fighters are cowards, and a lot of the others are cowards too for not standing up. So I guess if you're gonna fight the dude anyway, you need your money regardless. But he looked a little bit irregular tonight, and it's my opinion on it. I ain't got no ill will towards him. I'm just saying I don't really give a fuck about either one of these fighters. He looked like he had a competitive advantage, or maybe he had a great camp. Maybe they ran in the Aspen Mountains. Maybe they ran all the way to the top and back down to Mount Everest, and that's how he got his conditioning. But, some of them shots he was taking and keep coming at that height and that size, and then he got clipped by who knocked his ass out? The Cuban cat knocked him out, Mendoza. And all of a sudden you come back stronger and better than that, and then don't seem like no dryness at the weight, like he making the weight pretty. I'm just telling you, man. I'm calling all fuckery out. I'm calling all tomfoolery out, but that's my opinion. And I'm not saying he on nothing, just look a little bit irregular. But Tszyu is done. He needs to retire. I know it's about a lot of talk about Dan Du Bois quitting. I may address that at another time, but Tszyu definitely quit. His whole thing, like, oh, he's a tough motherfucker, and Tszyu wanted to prove that he wasn't a trust fund but baby, and also he wasn't, used and abused like a shelter animal tonight. And for the most part, I don't want to see him fight again. You're done. You're done. So thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. The subscribe button is the bell icon button. Check out the fight reaction playlist. Hit the link in the description. Follow me on X, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Amazon, Kick, Twitch, the whole nine. Appreciate the love and support. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Peace.